to the House.
I call John Hayes.
Thank my colleague across the House for supporting this bill and look forward to it coming to our Foreign Affairs, Trade and Defence Select Committee, where submissions will be called and the bill considered and processed and returned to the House. One small thing I'd like to correct in what my predecessor was saying when he said the bill would facilitate the movement of his manuhiri back to New Zealand. I'd just like to point out to him that this bill only applies to goods and won't be applying to your manuhiri. But I understand that you were trying to fill your 10-minute allotted gap and you didn't have a lot to say or to offer to the House, and that led you into a slightly murky area of, and I'll be gracious. So yeah, I just make the point, and I'd just like to let you know that had you read the paperwork, you would realise that from the beginning. And what is seriously important about this bill is that it is another strand of the rope that the government is building to pull this economy forward and to catch up with and to surpass Australia. And it's not just a matter of signing up trade agreements, and before our committee at the moment is the trade agreement with the third element of the Chinese infrastructure with Taiwan. And that, as I've mentioned in the House before, is going to, provided we can get it through our committee and into law before the end of this year, will generate $45 million of savings to cherry farmers in, for example, central Otago, and it will help apple growers in the Wairarapa and in the Hawke's Bay. But on the one hand, there's no point in making gains in that trade area without, at the same time, straightening up our administration. And I think this is what the ever hard-working Minister Maurice Williamson has been doing. He has a very good understanding of IT issues, and he's applying that in this area of the government's administration. And this legislation that he's brought to the House will save exporters exporters and importers, $450 million over 10 years. That is money that is not being taken out of people's pockets for no particular purpose. That means money stays in people's pockets and will add to economic activity in our economy, and that is good for everybody. The single trade window will lower traders' compliance costs, admittedly over time, and it will help us build a much more productive and competitive economy, which is, of course, exactly the government's priority over this term of office. It will help supply chain efficiencies from a joint border management system. And the other point I'd like to raise as well is that this legislation will enable our industry to interface in a far more efficient way with one electronic gateway to interact with government agencies for their customs and biosecurity requirements, but it will also plug us in to the World Customs Organization, and doing that will give more effective protection of our borders and ensure a smoother flow of legitimate trade. And as I said at the outset, there'll be no impact on travel coming into or leaving New Zealand because the changes relate only to the importing and exporting of goods. Mr. Speaker, this is a very good piece of legislation. It's got broad support, I hope, across the Parliament, and I support it entirely. Look forward to coming out to our committee. Thank you.
The Honourable Damien O'Connor.